Everyone is talking about how the next war will be fought with drones and satellites, but they are missing the most obvious point. I think Israel has a rare, once-in-a-lifetime chance to expand its territory, and they know it. This is their moment. And you have to wonder why American leaders are so quiet about the dangers. You would think the Democrats, if they really wanted to win the midterm elections, would take a strong anti-war position. They could hold big rallies from New York to California calling for an end to this growing conflict, but they are not doing that. In fact, they are not just staying quiet. They are actively giving money to keep this conflict going. Everyone in politics, from one side of the Democratic Party to the other, including big names like Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker, just voted to give more money and more power. It almost feels like they want to hand the next administration full control to finish what has already started. Now, if you look at Europe, it is a complete mess. There is really no better way to say it. The problems they are facing right now are so big that they are threatening the survival of their own countries. First, there is the mass immigration crisis. Second, Europe is fully committed to fighting a total war against Russia. Germany and Poland are talking about bringing back the military draft. I heard there was a plan to stop men under 45 from leaving Germany for more than 3 months without military permission. They may have taken that back because people were angry, but the intention is clear. They are moving toward forcing young men into the military. The strange part is that Germany is saying it will not allow Muslim immigrants to join the army. So the plan is to send young ethnic German men off to fight and possibly die, while the immigrant population stays home. It is a crazy situation. It looks like a plan for national self-destruction. And they are going to keep fighting Russia, even though making peace today would be better for them in the long run. They cannot beat Russia in Ukraine, and Russia has no real interest in invading a weakened Europe. Then there is the aging population problem. Europeans are getting older, more controlling, and more out of touch with reality every day. They are very focused on diversity and progressive politics in a way that America is finally starting to move away from. It is slowing down new ideas, it is hurting business owners, and it is basically suffocating the young people who are still there. Their economies are not even working properly anymore. The whole European economic model was built on cheap Russian energy and selling goods to China. Now they have cut off that energy, lost the Chinese market, and cannot easily access Middle Eastern energy because of tensions in that region. Leaders like Macron and Starmer are among the most unpopular in history, yet they keep pushing the same failing plans. Europe is in serious trouble, and the only real question is how much they will pull America down with them, which brings us to Iran. In the first round of this conflict over the last couple of months, Iran actually did better than expected. The Americans were completely surprised by how strongly Iran responded. Even Trump said he did not expect Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz or attack Gulf states. The Americans were caught off guard, but do not let that fool you. In the second round, once the current ceasefire ends, they will adjust their strategy. The Americans are developing a much stronger plan to basically cut Iran off economically. My prediction for how things develop over the next 6 months has 3 parts. First, the Americans will send in ground troops. People think it will all be done from the air, but the main goal is to cut off Iran's money. They need to take control of Kark Island and Keshem Island. They need soldiers on the coastline to stop Iran from exporting any oil and to block Iran from collecting fees on shipping routes. These are Iran's 2 main sources of income. Without that money, the government cannot survive. Second, they will work with ethnic minority groups inside Iran, such as the Kurds and the Baloch near Pakistan. People say they tried arming the Kurds before and it did not work. But this is a special forces mission. This is what the U.S. military is trained to do. There are around 10 different ethnic groups they can arm and support as fighting forces. If those groups see that America is winning and has military bases in Iraq protecting them, they will fight. They are practical people, and they will side with whoever is stronger. The third part, and this is the most powerful and the most harsh, is that the Americans will try to cut off Tehran from basic supplies. Tehran is a city of 10 million people. It needs water, electricity, and a constant supply of food. All you need to do is bomb the roads and bridges so supply trucks cannot get in, destroy the water storage facilities so there is no clean water, and knock out the power plants. People call these war crimes, but this is war. The U.S. has already done many questionable things in this region. The goal is to make life so hard for people in Tehran that they turn against their own government, which forces a political solution. It is about putting so much pressure on the people of Tehran that the government is forced to accept whatever terms America puts forward. But here is the thing. You cannot do this only from the air. The Americans are losing too many expensive aircraft. An F-15 costs $90 million. An F-35 costs over $100 million. We have already seen close to 30 planes lost or damaged. If you fight this war only from the air, you will drain the military budget. You need ground troops to truly take control. And we have seen from Gaza that the world has become much less sensitive to images of war. If the global economy is suffering, if gas costs $10 a gallon, and you are worried about losing your job, you are not going to care much about ground troops in Iran. After 6 months of economic pain, people get tired of caring. The current situation involving Iran is shaped by a complicated internal power structure, not a single unified leadership. Iran is run through two systems working side by side. On one side is the official political system, including elected bodies and government departments that handle everyday state functions. On the other side is the religious leadership centered around the supreme leader, along with powerful security organizations like the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, which has major military, intelligence, and economic power. These two centers of power do not always agree, and sometimes their goals are different, especially during national security crises. Within this system, the IRGC plays a very important role in shaping Iran's military strategy. It is often described as a parallel military and intelligence organization with its own command structure and a degree of independence in certain areas. During periods of outside pressure or conflict, the IRGC's influence tends to grow, especially in security and regional operations. Some experts argue that such conditions can lead to more spread-out command structures in the field, designed to keep operations going even if top leaders are taken out. At the same time, Iran's civilian political leaders are generally seen as more willing to reduce tensions when the economy and domestic stability are at risk. These decision-makers are usually focused on maintaining access to international markets, avoiding harsh economic sanctions, and preventing public unrest caused by economic hardship. This creates an internal conflict. While the security organizations may focus on deterrence and military strength, civilian leaders often think more carefully about the long-term cost of ongoing conflict, especially when it threatens the overall stability of the state. From a wider global perspective, Iran is also part of a shifting set of international relationships. Its ties with countries like Russia and China are often seen as strategic partnerships designed to push back against Western pressure. At the same time, the United States continues to see the Middle East as a critical region for maintaining global influence, particularly regarding energy routes, sea security, and alliances. Experts debate whether the growing cooperation between major non-Western powers represents a united bloc or just a loose collection of shared interests, but the trend has still contributed to increased global competition. In Washington, discussions about Iran and the wider region are usually framed around deterrence, alliance building, stability, and global economic security. Some strategic thinkers stress the importance of preventing rival power networks from growing strong enough to challenge U.S. influence across Eurasia. Others argue that such views can overestimate how united these competing states really are and underestimate the internal challenges each one faces, including economic problems, domestic politics, and regional weaknesses. A key factor in all of these discussions is the global financial system, particularly the role of government debt markets and the continued demand for U.S. Treasury bonds. While the United States carries a large public debt, it also benefits from the dollar's central role in global trade and finance. Experts disagree on how long this system will last, but most mainstream economic analysis suggests it is supported by deep structural demand rather than just short-term political decisions. It is also important not to confuse strategic analysis with certain predictions of large-scale war. While all major powers have military plans and backup scenarios, real-world conflict is shaped by uncertainty, efforts to control escalation, and significant institutional limits. Modern warfare, especially between technologically advanced countries, tends to involve layered deterrence, competition through proxy forces, and limited engagements rather than immediate full-scale war. Finally, conflicts in the Middle East are rarely driven by just one ideology or religion. They are usually the result of many overlapping factors, including security concerns, historical wounds, political survival, regional rivalries, and economic pressures. While ideological stories do play a role in motivating people and justifying actions, decision-making at the government level is usually more fragmented and practical than outside observers often suggest.